After buying and selling over 600 lots, I've learned when land's dirt cheap, it's almost always hiding a catch, one that could cost you a fortune. So in this video, I'll show you 10 reasons land might be cheap and how to spot them so your dream doesn't turn into a nightmare. Now the first reason can quietly kill your building project before it even begins. Say you find this beautiful, affordable piece of land, but a few weeks after you sign the papers, a letter shows up from the county about your building permit. So you rip it open all excited, but the very first sentence feels like a punch to the gut. So what happened? Beneath that picture-perfect surface is a layer of dirt locals call blackjack soil, a dense clay that traps water. It fails the standard tests counties require for installing a septic system, which means no permit for a home unless you were planning to host the world's most disappointing housewarming party. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy it, test the dirt, check soil maps, or talk to the health department about problem areas. Walk the land after heavy rain and see how water behaves, and order a perk test before you close. Next, there's reason number 2 that can cost you sleep, and not because of excitement. Say you visit a property and everything feels perfect, quiet road, peaceful views, clean air. You're eager to lock it in, so you buy it fast. But weeks later, when you spend your first night there, you learn the kind of lesson you will never forget. So what happened? After dark, the property changed completely. At night, the beef plant up the road filled the air with a horrible smell. What felt like your dream lot in the daylight turned into a place where even the raccoons packed up and left. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, don't just visit once. Go back at night, early mornings, and weekends. Listen for noise, pay attention to traffic, and notice any smells or activity you wouldn't catch in a quick daytime visit. Now, reason number 3 can stop you long before you even reach your property line. Say you find a property that looks perfect online. The photos show wide open spaces and beautiful views. It feels like a rare find, so you snap it up before anyone else can. Then you finally head out to see it with your plans in hand. You follow the GPS. But as you make your final turn, it hits you. You're heading straight into trouble. So what happened? That road leading to your dream property isn't really a road at all. It's a class 3 route, rough, barely maintained, and meant for high clearance vehicles. Your car bottoms out, you're scraping along rocks, and you start laughing nervously because crying would just shake the car more. So how do you avoid it? Don't rely on photos or a GPS route. Drive all the way in yourself before you buy. Ask the county or locals what kind of maintenance, if any, the route gets. Think about the future. Can a moving truck, emergency vehicle, or builder even get there? Next is reason number 4 that can sneak up on you even if all the tests look fine. So you find a piece of land and picture yourself growing your own food and planting fruit trees. You can't wait to close, so after the perk test comes back clean, you rush ahead with the purchase. But months later, the dream shatters. You realize you can't safely grow a single thing on that land. So what happened? A perk test only tells you if the soil can handle a septic system. It doesn't tell you what's in that soil. In some regions, like areas with PFAS contamination or lingering chemicals from old farms or factories, the ground can be unsafe for growing food unless you want veggies that double as glow sticks. So how do you avoid it? Research the property's history. Was it farmland, an industrial site, or near one? Check state or county databases for contamination advisories. If you plan to grow food or use well water, get a dedicated soil test for contaminants, not just a perk test. Now, reason number 5 isn't obvious at first glance, but it can carve up your land in ways you did not expect. You walk the property and it feels perfect. Wide open space, endless possibilities. Standing there, it feels meant to be, so you buy it. But then, a month after you apply for a building permit, the county calls, and what they say makes your heart sink. So what happened? Buried in the fine print of the property is a utility easement, gas or power lines running straight through your land. Because of those easements, the county won't approve building permits in certain areas, and you can't plant, farm, or put up structures there either. Worse, utility crews have the legal right to stroll in whenever they want. One day you're enjoying the view, the next day you're hosting a surprise party for 5 guys revving chainsaws. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, review the title report or survey carefully for easements. Ask the county if there are active utility easements or restrictions on the parcel. Walk the property and look for markers, poles, or clear cleared strips that hint at buried lines. When in doubt, talk to a local surveyor to confirm what you're really buying. Next is reason number 6 that will make you rethink stepping foot on your own property. Say you visit a property in the middle of winter. The air is crisp, the woods are quiet, everything feels perfect. You're convinced it's the one, so you sign the papers without a second thought. But then summer comes and you return and it hits you within minutes. This place isn't livable. So what happened? When the seasons changed, the land changed too. In the warmer months, it became overrun with swarms of biting black flies, mosquitoes, and ticks, enough to have you waving your arms around like you're trying to land a plane. So how do you avoid it? Visit the property in different seasons, not just once. If that's not possible, talk to locals and ask what's it's like in the summer or after heavy rains. Check online forums or county extension offices for insect or tick advisories in that area. Look for clues on site, standing water, thick brush, or swampy areas that attract bugs. Now, reason number 7 can quietly turn your construction dreams into a nightmare. So you buy a property with sweeping views and solid ground. It appears ready for your dream build. So you bring in a builder and get to work. But as soon as the digging starts, the truth hits hard. What's hiding under that soil could cost you a small fortune. So what happened? Beneath that thin layer of soil was solid bedrock. Excavating through it isn't like digging into dirt. It takes heavy equipment, drilling, or even blasting. Those extra steps can drive construction costs into tens or even hundreds of thousands. Suddenly, that dream deck is downgraded to a folding chair. So how do you avoid it? Walk the land and look for exposed rock outcrops or shallow soil. Ask local builders or the county about typical soil and rock conditions in the area. If you plan to build, consider a geotechnical report or test pits before you buy. Now, reason number 8 doesn't just cost you time, it can cost you everything. You finally find the perfect property and agree on a price. The title company sends you instructions for where to send the closing funds. Everything appears routine, so you send the money, excited to finally own your land. But days later, the title company calls and your excitement turns into a knot in your stomach. So what happened? The email with the wiring instructions didn't come from the real title company. It came from a scammer. The account details looked legit, complete with logos and official sounding language. But instead of your dream lot, you just funded a scammer's shopping spree in Bali. So how do you avoid it? Always confirm wiring instructions by phone. Call the title or escrow company using a number you know is real, not one from an email. Watch for subtle email red flags, misspelled domains, odd grammar, or unfamiliar sender addresses. Be suspicious of last-minute changes to wiring details. Scammers often strike close to closing day. Now, reason number 9 is the kind of surprise that can wipe out your investment overnight. So you buy a property tucked beside a dry wash, winding through the desert. The setting feels perfect, quiet, wide open, full of potential. So you start making plans for your home, even sketching a driveway right across that wash for easy access. But after the first big storm, your dream property suddenly feels like something out of a disaster movie. So what happened? That dry wash you built across isn't always dry. When heavy rains hit miles away, desert washes can turn into raging rivers in minutes. Water, mud, and debris tearing through with incredible force. Your carefully planned driveway? Gone. Now it's a water slide for rattlesnakes. So how do you avoid it? Check FEMA flood risk maps to see if any part of the property sits in a flood zone or wash area. Walk the property carefully and look for signs that water has flowed there before, like packed dirt or debris caught on bushes or fences. Talk to neighbors or local officials about what happens after heavy rains. Locals often know which spots flood fast. Avoid building in or near washes, even if they look bone dry most of the year. Now, reason number 10 is sneaky. It doesn't show up until you are already settled in. You buy a property with plenty of open space. On paper, only a small corner is marked as wetlands. No big deal. Everything else looks clear and usable, so you start making building plans for your future home. But as the seasons shift, the property feels like it's slowly rewriting its own boundaries, and bit by bit, your dream layout starts to fall apart. So what happened? That small patch of wetlands on paper wasn't as fixed as it looked. Over time, seasonal unusual water patterns cause those wetlands to expand, creeping farther into your property each season. Areas you thought were buildable became protected, and suddenly large parts of your land converted into a mud-soaked wellness retreat for ducks. So how do you avoid it? Commission a wetland delineation from a qualified environmental consultant to map the exact boundaries before you buy. Check the most recent wetland and floodplain maps from your county or state. Don't rely on outdated listings. Talk to locals about how water moves after heavy rain. Focus your plans on higher, well-drained areas so future boundary shifts won't derail your build. But here's the thing, these surprises are nothing compared to the mistakes that can drain your savings or leave you with land you can't use. So watch this video next, where I show you the biggest land buying mistakes and how to avoid turning your dream into a costly regret.